Okay, good morning everybody now, gentlemen and ladies. Very pleased to have you here this morning and thank you for your interest in coaching. I'm very pleased to introduce you today Miss Hélène Aubry Denton, who is the director of IDC's coaching school. This is where I did my coaching certificate. And she's not only the director of this school, she's also the person who brought coaching to Suisse Romande 18 years ago. So she's a kind of pioneer in the coaching business. And she's also an executive coach and trainer. She has a very big experience. And her school is the leader in Suisse Romande for coaching in English and French. And what else shall I say about you? So there's a team of 12 persons where you can take the coaching training. It's the basic training, but then also executive training, all kind of coaching business. And I'm very pleased to have you here today. It's a big honor for us. So it will be an interactive session. We will do some demonstrations. And there will be a question and answer at the end. And I hope you will enjoy the session.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hélène.
So thank you very much, first of all, to invite me to this honorable assembly of women and one man. Two men, actually. Two men. So I said I'm delighted to be here today and to talk, not really to talk about coaching. As Beat said, coaching, I can tell you a lot about coaching, but you can read books. You don't need me for that. Actually, it's better to experience, to have a flavor. What is coaching about? And as Beat said, we will do some demo and you embark in a little exercise. I reassure you, it will be a short one, just to get what's coaching about, because there are a lot of articles, there are a lot of saying about it, but there's not a better way than to experience it. And first of all, if you don't mind, I'd like to start by a story. I hope it's a good story. This story is about a man was living in Argentina. Can you hear me? Are you okay? In Argentina. And he was a horse trainer. You know, they were schooling horses, wild horses, for them to become, horses, not white horses. So they had a team, he had a team, and what they were doing actually, using the traditional methodology, which is basically breaking the horse so that they can finally become a horse, which is a trained horse. And they were basically taming them and breaking them. And this man was a kind of bit fed up by this experience, which was not very pleasant. To break a wild animal is not really pleasant. And he said to himself, there must be another way to do it. And you know, Argentina is a big country. There's a pampa, a lot of wild horses. And he decided to go to spend 10 days watching a team of horses, wild horses. He made himself very small, almost so that the horses wouldn't be frightened by him. And he spent days and days watching what was going on, how these horses were behaving toward each other, what were they doing, and especially when a leader had to come out from the team of the horse, how did he do it? He was very interested by that. So he observed a lot, and he was very quiet. And he was not judging, he was just observing what nature was actually telling him in the behavior of this wild animal. And he noticed as well one of the horse, how he did to become the leader of the team. And the way he was actually guiding, showing his energy as a leader, but actually taking the team of the horses with him, not imposing, but he was the leader. So after all these observations, he came back and he said to his team, you know, it's amazing what nature has to tell us and how we can learn from observation and how we can guide the horses in a different way and school them in a different way. So he applied what he learned by observation with his team that he had to train as well. And the results were not only, instead of breaking the horse, they were schooling the horse, but in a totally different way. It took much less longer. It was much more effective to do it that way they did it. So you would tell me, what's the relationship with coaching? What do you think? An idea?
Please press your microphone when you talk. Press your microphone.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah.
Maybe the role of the coach is to observe the person that has in front of him or her,
Thank
the
you.
qualities,
Yes.
and from that to guide as the leader holds the person in the direction that the person would like to go, in fact.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
to impose a direction,
Not
but
to impose, to observe, exactly. Yeah, that's one first thing. As a coach, we might not be a host, but as a coach, we observe our coachee, and without judgment, we are just there to observe and take what is there. And we can get a lot of information by this connection, with what we call connection observation. Thank you very much. Somebody else? What about the leader, the leadership? Somewhere.
Yes, understanding the relationships and the role that the leader actually has.
Yeah.
It's very important to understand
Yeah.
and believe that role and how it filters within the, in this case, the white horses.
Yeah, it's about actually a real leader. There are a lot of books written about leadership nowadays. A great leader is somebody who inspires people. They want to follow him because they are inspired by him or her. And it's about guiding people, but having this quality of presence that people want to be with you. Like the horse, they wanted to be with him and follow him, because somewhere this horse had a capability to connect and then to somewhere show that he was there as a leader. Okay. Now, what I wanted to tell you, it's not another story, but I would like to take you to explain to you what is the difference between, I would say, what is coaching and what is not coaching. And if we take, for example, 3 ways of problem solving, we have here a very nice illustration of what it is. You know what a consultant is, and you know what consulting is. A consultant, as an expert, he has a solution to a problem you bring to be resolved. And he's paid for. That's his role. He has an expertise. And I would like to underline that we need a consultant, we need a mentor, we need coach. It's not that one is better than the other one, but they have a different role. The problem with coaching nowadays, we put coaching in all kind of context, and we say, oh, I coach my team. Actually, I mentored my team, or even I gave advices to my team, and I thought I was coaching them. So it's just to make, for you to catch a little bit what's the difference. And we do a little demo with Beat. It was nice to accept that. So consulting, what is consulting about? So we have a problem. We have a consultant gives us the expertise about the problem to find solution. Consultant, very clear. Mentor. A mentor is somebody who has an experience about a specific situations. So you ask a mentor, excuse me, because there is a need for development of the person or the manager, and he will share his experience about it. I will give you an example in 2 minutes. And then you can learn from that. You learn from this experience of this man. I coached somebody some years ago who was offered a position of senior partner in a big firm. And she had a mentor located in London who transmitted to her his experience about what she will have to learn having this position. And they asked her to have a coach to build her confidence about her new job was offered to her. That's two different ways of teaching or developing somebody. And then you have coaching. Coaching is you have an objective. Somebody come to you with a problem. You listen to the problem, but you are not asking, tell me more about the problem. What caused the problem? We are not really interested by that because this person knows it. That's not our role. What we want to know is what does she want instead of that, what she's living at. What's the objective towards what she wants to go and develop. And then you have the resources. We look at some obstacles, but even if there is an obstacle, we say, okay, fine, I understand something is really on your road, therefore, to get to your objective. But what are the resources you have for that? And we always have resources somewhere, but when we are faced with a problem, we tend to focus on the problem and we forget that we have resources. As minimum as they are, but there was always a resource somewhere. And then finally, we take the person to action because there's a dynamic in coaching. It's not only asking nice open-ended questions, it's about talking about the objective and fixing the objective. It's about, and now, what would be the first step you can take to start to go to your objective? So it's about encouraging the person to go for action, which somewhere show her what's the best way for her to get there to this action, because we all have a different way. So this is roughly what is about the coaching towards mentoring and consulting. What I like to do now, if it's okay for you still, Beate, we do a short demo. And I would like to observe two things, because you won't just listen, you will work too. We will do a short demo on the first part, consulting. I ask Beate a feedback of 1 minute, how did she feel? Then we'll do the second demo about mentoring, and the third about coaching. She will bring the same problem, but I will act or be the expert, the mentor, and the coach. Are you okay with that? Yes. So you would, while you'll be watching the demo, maybe if you can just notice in the consulting part, 2 questions we were asked to Beate. What kind of questions? And then at the end, we'll just share what was the difference. Okay? Are you okay with that? So, Beate. Let me get my consultant and embody that. So I'm the consultant. It's hard for me because I'm so much doing it. Okay, fine. So Beate, what would you like to bring today for this little demo we have together?
Oh, Hélène, you know, there are all these women here, and maybe it's a typical problematic for... I would like to lose some weight. I think I'm... I think I have...
She looks great. Anyway, so.
Some kilos too much, and maybe it's also menopause, I don't know, but yeah. I don't know how... I don't manage to lose weight.
So I understand you want to lose some weight.
Yes.
I can bring you a list of solutions because I have an experience about that and I know exactly how you could do it. Mm-hmm. First of all, you have to be very careful about what you eat, at what time do you have your lunch, dinner, breakfast. It's important to have a regular time about the way you eat in the day. Then you have to not track down the calories because it's not anymore that. It's about having a balanced diet about veg, protein, forget about glucids because that's very bad for the time being. And you have to quote every day, you know, what you ate. You know. Yeah, but you know, you want to lose weight or not? You know. She's a tough cookie, you know. And then what we can do, we have another session together. In 2 weeks' time, we look at your journaling. How did you quote down? And you weigh yourself after a week. Don't weigh yourself every day, after a week. Okay? And then we have a meeting again together. Is that okay for you?
Yes.
That's my expertise, you know. So, Beate, a short feedback. How did you feel? Be totally sincere, please.
Yeah. So it's a kind of, you have to do this, that. All the theory I know. I know the theory about what I should eat, not eat, regular meals. It doesn't work. So nothing new. Just, okay. I don't feel motivated.
Okay. Now, posture mentoring. So in a few words again, can you bring your problem?
Yeah, Hélène, you know, I'm getting older and I'm taking on more weight. So I've tried, I know about the theories, what I should do and not do, but I just don't manage to lose weight. So.
Yeah. I understand there's a kind of a problem there. I know somebody from my family, my own family, who went through this problem too. And she tried diet, she tried, just name it, probably 10, 12 types of diets. It didn't work really. Actually, every time she tried a diet, and she finished the diet, and she ate normally, she put another kilo on, which was not very nice. So from the experience I can hear, because myself, I'm lucky enough, I don't know why, but you know, so far, so good. But from what I heard from that member of my family, she said, you know, it's not about doing diet and things like that. It's more about having a different attitude towards eating. And still enjoying the eating, maybe reduce the quantity because she had a tendency to like sweet stuff, you know, which...
Not me.
Okay, that's a good advantage. And she said to me, really, it's more about how do I relate to food. What it is that sometimes I need to eat more as I don't feel really hungry. So she questioned herself, and it helped a lot. And she gave herself the time to really lose weight, not to be brutal with herself and cut off the food suddenly, and then she would starve, you know. Really go gradually. I don't know if you can, this kind of reflection can help you. Okay, what's the feedback?
It's already, I feel more attracted by this kind of approach because there are some similarities. I still don't know how to go about it, but it's nice to know that other people have the same problem and maybe there's a different approach to it. So.
Okay. Third round. Now I'm a coach. Woo! Okay, so if you can bring your problem again with your words.
So Hélène, yeah, I've been trying, I don't even want to try any diets anymore. I just want to lose weight and yeah, I don't know how to go about it.
Yeah. So I can feel you're a little bit disappointed. You really would like to change something? It's what I hear? Or?
Not sure.
Not sure, okay, fine.
I don't think I'm eating too much. Maybe sometimes I like the sweet stuff. And I like eating for me is also the social aspect when there are invitations. So it's if I cannot do a diet because somebody comes and say, hey, we have a dinner tonight, do you come? And I said yes, because this is more important for me. So I don't want to do any diets.
Yeah, I can hear you. Tell me, what it is that it's important for you to lose weight? What it is that's important?
Well, it's a bit when I see myself in the mirror and when I can't close my pants because, yeah.
So, if everything was possible, just for a while, what would be the ideal situation for you?
Oh, if everything was possible, if I had somebody cooking me healthy food at lunchtime in the evening, just sit down on the table, have the time to eat, and yeah, that would be nice.
So somebody cooking the food for you,
yes.
Have time to eat, okay, and then that'd be nice. Yes. Okay. Tell me, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you think that it's a possibility that this dream could happen?
Not really.
Not yet. Okay. And if you wanted to get a little bit closer to the way you actually, it seems you were inspired when you told me that, to that way, what could that be, another way to get as close as possible to this ideal situation?
Well, it's when I'm on vacation, when I don't have my stress, so I can have little bubbles where I don't have the day-to-day routine, no responsibilities, just
And there,
yeah,
it can happen.
going on a workshop for coaching. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe a very last question, because our time is a little bit limited. If from what you were, you looked very inspired by, being on holiday, and it seems could happen different way. If you wanted to bring some of it, just a little piece of it, in the normal daily life, so that you can somewhere start to have a kind of reduce your weight, how could you do that?
Maybe take time for lunch instead of eating it in my office in front of the computer, to have a break and talk to somebody, have this nice
That
break.
could be,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Again, on a scale of 1 to 10, how possible is that can happen?
6 or 7. I have to make a little effort, but
Okay, that's not too bad. Can we stop here? Okay.
Thank
Can you
you.
give me your feedback?
It's very nice because it goes more into the needs. Really, what is my problematic? What are my needs? What do I want? If everything was possible, that opens up also, as you said, the inspiration. So there is something. It's not just about losing weight,
No.
but something different, and
No.
it connects to deeper feelings.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I'm fully aware that we would like to applaud. Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm fully aware that I've been exaggerating the consulting, maybe the mentoring, the coaching more natural. But maybe just 1 or 2 people, if they want to express themselves, what did you see as a real difference there in this approach to the same situation, same problematic? Yes?
Use your microphone.
Yeah. Maybe with the first one, the expertise, they were full of rules, theory about what is good, what is bad.
Yeah.
Like if the truth was the same for everybody, which I don't think is the case. We are all different. We are human beings, and we are all different with our natural way of being. And I didn't see any taking into account of that element in this first approach. The second, a little bit the same. It's maybe more useful to hear about experiences of other people, but here again, other people are different from you. So the truth for them is maybe not the truth for you.
Exactly, yeah.
So it does not take into account the real needs and wishes and dreams of the person. And the last one, of course, is more efficient in the sense that it's the coach did not bring any solution or any rule or any solution. The coach is only here to ask questions for the person to be able to find her own solutions in this case. And you immediately see the reaction, the smile, and because you were talking about dreams and what would be the ideal solution, we know the ideal solution is not always possible, but at least you try to get closer to that. And so the satisfaction is there to try and find the best for this person, because the best for the person A is definitely never the same for person B and C. This is what makes life interesting.
Thank you for your feedback. It's a very precise one. Maybe what I'd like to have a question on the first one, question on the second one, and the third one, so we see what kind of difference we have. But thank you for your very complete feedback. Is there somebody noted the question in the consulting? What did I ask? If I asked something, I'm not sure. Actually, I was lecturing you all the time, and the mentoring and the coaching. precisely a question. Yes? If you can press your mic.
Okay. So in the first exercise, as a consultant, I realized that there were no questions. The first one, there was just one question: what are you here for? What are you expecting? And then no more questions. There were only advices. In the second exercise, the mentoring, it was more or less the same. There was a first question to know why the person is coming to you. But there was again no questions. There were just a comparison with other people having the same experience, living the same experience. And as for the third exercise with coaching, there were only questions. There were no judgments, no advices, only listening to the coachee.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well observed. Yes. Some more would like to share? Maybe I would. Yes, please.
It's just a reflection. I was thinking about this philosopher called Socrates, and he used to say he used to use a methodology called mageutic,
Yes.
which is to help people to give birth of what is inside or truth, or. He used to say that each of us we have the truth of ourselves, of our needs. So I see this role of coach asking the good questions, helping this person to give birth of herself or himself. So I was recalling this. It's just an image.
It's meiotic, as you said, yeah. So thank you for raising that. And yes, it's a meiotic. At the same time, and I think it's important to say that, but we'd go ahead so you can have more flavor about what's coaching. But I would like to say that yes, it's a meiotic, and we have a toolbox, if I could say so, where we can help or accompany the coachee to find, first of all, to clarify their objectives, because what do you want? And we have some specific model to clarify an objective, which is very powerful. Then we have some of exercises to help the coachee to being aware what is really important for me. To ask the questions, great. But sometimes you need to pinpoint, for example, what is important. Values are important for people. Values, but how do I know what are really my values? And we have a specific exercises about that to help the person to really find his or her value, not the one we have been taught to her, the real one we vibrate in her. Value is an amazing resource when you want to get to an objective, or when you want to choose, or when you want to say no to and yes to. So all these tools, I would say, call them tools or process, are helping all along the process with the meiotic, which is know yourself and you do better about your life, because basically is what it is. But it's a bit more complex. Why? Because coaching, as I said, is a dynamic, and you are taking the person to action. And even if I realize that this is what I want, somewhere I might have some fears, and we have to address that, what is stopping me. I would love to be there. But inside of me, there's something which is blocking or stopping me. And the coach can't ignore that. He has to just give the space for that. And we have, again, some special tools to help the person to what I say yes to what I say no to, and on and on. So thank you to raise that point, and I would say yes, and we have a toolbox which is quite rich, I would say, to help the coaching process. Now, talking about, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead. We have another demo. I would like then to show you some of the coaching competencies, because basically there are a list of professional competencies in coaching, at least about 12 competencies, which are really the foundation of the building as for us as a coach. But I chose here 3 were absolutely, I would say, the basis of the building, which is active listening, open-ended questions, we talked about it, and connect to resources, we talked about it. I would like to, before we go to the next demo, To give an example, what do we say by, or what we intend by open-ended questions? For example, if somebody has a choice to make, very simple questions, what are the options? And you wait. If you had the choice, what would you do? The coaching questions, the smaller they are, the shorter they are, excuse me, quite often the more powerful they are. Somebody talked to them and said, and then? And you wait. It's just, you are here like to trigger the reflection, to touch the person. Other questions, a lot of them about objectives, I just selected some. What is your ideal goal? Because a goal is a goal, but what is, if, as I said to Beat, if everything was possible, what would you like to do? You open the imagination, you open the door, because we have a tendency to limit ourselves tremendously. We have been educated a lot about in that way. Another question about objective, if you achieved it, what would it do for you? That's a very powerful question. And what is stopping you? I want to do that and that and that and that. But what is stopping you? And you wait. And that triggers a lot of reflection. These questions are really to have the person reflecting on her own, and then she will say, yeah, I know why. So you wait, active listening, you wait. You are not here pressing, I want to have an answer right now. No, you just give the space. Excuse me. So this is some examples of open-ended questions. Now, active listening. How do we do active listening? Why do we call it active listening and not just listening? What do you think? You have an idea about it? Why active? Yeah, yes?
Because we have to be present at that moment and be 100% listening to the other person. So it's really being there for the person and understanding what the person is saying, making sure, clarifying, making sure that we understand what is meant.
Yes, thank you very much. You should be a coach. And there are, and again, I would do a little show for that, but you can just listen to somebody. Person talks. And when you are supposedly listening, you say, well, tomorrow I have to do that, and this weekend I have to do that. And you think that the person won't see it, because you are actually active, you are listening. But this energy we send into the system without knowing it, it's like the horses with the other horses. It's there. The person can feel it. She's listening, but she's not interested about what I'm saying, because she seems to be somewhere else. And active listening is not being like that either, because you are getting into a world, into a space. Active listening is about having all your senses open, your ears, certainly. The eyes are just focused, but not too much. But the active listening is more about the presence you have there. You are fully present for that person. She's the most important person in the world at that moment, precisely now. And, it's not easy, especially in the world we live in. You'd say, well, that's story for children. No, because there is a huge need. I tell you, I coach executives all day long. And the problem for executives is most of the time, they are not listening, but they don't listen to their people. And I'm not accusing that. I'm saying the system, because of the pressure of the system, we think we have to go fast about everything. And just taking the time and giving the space to somebody who has something to say can then empower that person, and she be far more efficient in her work than by saying boom, 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 and I don't have the time to listen. So it's actually a very important competence. And believe me or not, it's something which needs to be cultivated. It could be natural, but we have somewhere to be aware of it and to be really have this interest for the other person. And that's really the active listening. So how we do it, there's I would say, a way. It's reformulation, which is what? Somebody is telling you something, you restate the facts, but don't do it too much, because if you do 3-4 times, it's really listening to me. And then summarize and check, because we have a tendency to listen, to make our own opinion, and then we think we are okay. I think I listened to her. But actually, I was in my own world, my interpretation of her world, which I don't know at all what is going on. Active listening is really making sure, is this what you said? Okay, and then we can carry on, and the person feel that she has been accepted and understood. So would you like to do a short demo? Then you will do it between yourself, with your neighbor. So, my dear Dad, what would you like to bring that as a small subject? Mm-hmm. Not 7 out of the scale of Richter. Something you would like to bring here. And
so I'd just like to expose something that is work-related, a little problematic where I'm stuck right now. Last year we have organized a 4 months training on conflict management, so that was 2-day workshops, and we had an external consultant coming from UNHCR, who was exceptional. And when he left, he got another position at as assistant ombudsperson at UNHCR, which is perfect for him, but it means he won't come back this year. And we trained only half of the organization, and I have to organize the training for the other half of the organization. So he proposed to me 2 people who would be suited to do the job. And he said 1 woman, he's more on his line, and another man who is a bit ole ole, he said. So whatever that means. So he recommended the woman. I got in touch with her, but she's working for UNHCR, and she's a lot on missions, and it's difficult to get hold on her. And I would like to set up my sessions, my trainings, get organized, because last year I didn't take any vacation, and this way I have planned my vacation. And I can't plan anything because I don't get any reply from this woman. She needs the approval from her supervisor, who is also away on mission, so everything gets stuck, and I don't know what to do.
Good luck, Hélène. Okay, I'll try to, I would summarize, and I'd just like to check with you that I understood what you're saying. If I'm correct, what I heard is that there was somebody, an expert in the organization, to do some training about conflict management. And it seems he was very good, this expert, yes. But he decided not to do the training anymore, and he sent 2 other people, or he recommended 2 other people. And one of that person was ole ole. So
apparently, I don't
know. So you were a little bit, okay. And you, it seems that for you, beyond that problem of not having this expert anymore, on top of that, you have your vacation, when this training is supposed to take place. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can't plan anything, because she told me she won't be available before June, but then June we get into the summer period already. People are leaving, and this year I'm also leaving. So I don't know, I would like to fix the dates so that we can send out invitations, plan this, because the further it goes into the year, the more it becomes difficult. Then we have assemblies and other things come up, and I have to organize this training this year.
So what you're saying, Beate, is that the question or the problem you're asking, the question you're asking yourself, you have to plan it. And because of this situation, and you have your holiday and so on, you are kind of not very happy with the situation. It might be an interpretation. I'm correct about that.
I'm not happy.
Not very happy about the situation. So is that correct? What I said? I might have a question for you there, if you don't mind. Could you think about a situation, not a similar situation, but a situation maybe in your work, where you were faced with something which was unexpected, from what I understand, and somewhere you found a solution, you adapted or you found a solution to it? Is there something you could think about?
Nothing concrete, but I often adapt and find solutions, and
Yeah.
I know I will find a solution.
Okay, so
It's just I like the planning part, because then
Sure.
I know where I go, and there I can't plan because there are too many unknown criteria for me, and I don't like that.
So what would you need to be more secure about this planning? So
If
find
you
a way.
could give me dates of disponibility, and then we can arrange around it. But there's nothing else. So I really need her to get back to me, at least say, this month I can, this month I can't, so that we can do the planning.
So from what I hear is that you need this person to give you the dates so that you can plan. A last question, if you don't mind. When will you ask her to do it, to give you a date?
This afternoon.
Yes. Okay, so it's just about asking her. Okay. Are you okay if we stop here? Can you give me a feedback about the reformulation? And
so lots of questions. Also, did I understand it correctly? It was a bit complicated, my story, but it's ideal for active listening, because then you can, at some stage you asked me a question, I said, yeah, no, it's not exactly this. So then by asking and reformulating, the other person can correct the message and make sure that it was well understood. And this is a very important tool.
Okay, thank you. So maybe just a quick feedback, and then you go do the exercise between yourself. What did you notice? Did you notice from this reformulating, when especially somebody is telling a long story and she has the right? So how do you do it? Because if you don't mind, the aim is not to repeat. I could have taken notes and repeat to Beat. What did I do? But in the reformulating. Summarize. Summarizing. We have to summarize. The other thing is, did I use all the words she used, or I used some other words? But what was maybe there to make sure it was okay with her? What did I ask?
You asked for a confirmation.
Yes, yes. Is that what you said? Because we can in a very innocent way think that we heard it, that we heard that, and we send somewhere it's an interpretation of what I hear, but I think it's what I heard, because we are human beings after all. We have the right to think that it's right. So it's important, especially if there is a long story there, which was. I said to myself, well, will I be capable of this? It's, you summarize, you don't need to take all that stuff. You summarize, and then you just make sure, is that correct? And she will say, yes, and, or but. And then you do, what did I do? I did a second reformulation, because she carried on, something went on. This woman had to say yes or no, and when. And then the question is, so you reformulate, from what I hear, and what the third stage, if I could say so. Once it's reformulated, once the person say yes, and she brings something else, and then what do you do as a coach, or the person talking with? What will you do with it? Was a question about action, because she herself, the power of reformulating is not just reformulating. She hears. Correct me if I'm wrong. Not. She hears what she said by somebody else. So it was like external, which makes her thinking in her brain. Her brain is building the next story. Okay, and brings another thing, and then when she brings that back, then the coach can, and then what will you do with it? Because she's ready to go there. Correct me if I'm, okay? So the reformulating goes beyond reformulating. Yes?
I think it was, excuse me. Oh, sorry. So it's quite interesting where you,
Yeah.
you were summarizing and checking to see if the idea that was and the facts were formulating correctly before you, giving her reassurance, which was quite interesting. What I also found interesting is that you asked her to reflect on an example where she found an earlier solution. So you invested another dimension to the thought processing, of which, of course, she needed more thought.
And what kind? Thank you for your remark. And what kind of competency is that when you ask this kind of question? Getting back to the competencies, you remember the open-ended question, active listening, and connect to resources. When you do that, she didn't find the situation, that's okay, she couldn't find it, but I take the risk to ask the question. Because we are not stuck to get the results from the question. We open the question. She said, yes, yeah, I have an example, okay. I was right to ask the question. She said, not really, that's okay too. You know, we are not stuck to the result of the question. Yeah, thank you for the, yes?
I was a little bit surprised because the discussion went on so Beata identified the issue, you summarized and clarified with her that the issue was well understood, but I was a bit surprised that you didn't ask the question on what have you done to address this issue, and depending on the answer, what could you do? So I was a bit surprised that it just stopped at an end where I felt maybe it should have gone further.
Yeah, it's a very good remark, by the way. I was focused on active listening. So reformulating, you know, so that you get a flavor of what is about reformulating. But it's a very good remark, yeah. So if it's okay for you, we might do in one way only, yes. You turn to your neighbor and the 2x2, if you can, and you bring, as Beate did, something. Try maybe not to be too long, or the other person may take some notes, because to reformulate, to remember something is not easy. So just put some note down so you can remember it. The person will bring a real situation and bring it, and then, not too long please, and then the person say, you have that written here, restate the facts from what I understand. If I understand you correctly, just do it simply, blah, 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 blah. Is that correct? Ask the question at the end and not, after you understand it correctly, let's do that, because otherwise not reformulation. We have to make sure this is what she intended to do, even if you don't use exactly the words, but that was what she did. And then, and she said, yeah, blah, 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 and you reformulate just twice. That's okay. And then you exchange feedback. Is that okay? So I'll give you just a signal with my, we give you 5 minutes altogether for the reformulation and feedback. Are you okay? Okay, let's go. So we would like to hear some of your feedback. How did it work? What didn't work? To hear you about your experience. Yes?
Okay, in our case it was very interesting because I explained the situation, and when she reformulated, there was part of her understanding, and there was kind of a judgment on it that came from her, and I told her, no, it's not exactly what I meant.
Yeah,
so I tried to rephrase it, explain it, clarify it. And for her, it was still very difficult to rephrase because she didn't understand where the problems was. And it was interesting that at some point it was in her mind something that she heard the problem, but for her, maybe it was not a problem, so it was very difficult for her to accept it as a problem.
Yeah, great experience. Great experience. If I could just comment, because why I say great experience, because it's very normal and human to do that, right? And by doing that, we want to help the other person even better, because I think I know what's your problem. You might not know, but I know. And it's done with, I would say, with the need to help. And there is a good intention in it. But by having a good intention, I wanted to, you say, no, that's not what it is. No, I think that I know what it is. I'm a little bit caricature. We are not actually helping the person, because somewhere we're saying coaching, our coachee has all the understanding and the knowing, but he doesn't know that. It's there, meiotic. So by my questioning, or by my reformulating, is it what you said, you hear from somebody else, what you are saying to me, which trigger reflection, which somewhere enrich your reflection. But it's not for me to send you my interpretation of your problem, even if there's a very good intention in it. Because we are full of good intention. Huh? What do we do with our children? Do that because I think it's good for you. Huh? Maybe not, but I think it's good for you. So in coaching, we really have, this is the most difficult part, right? Is how can I listen, hear, and not interpret the reality of the other person? This is the most difficult exercise, because we haven't been brought up with that. In our work, we ask you all the time to say, c'est comme ça, go, do it, because I think I know better than you, and on and on. I'm caricaturing there. So thank you for this feedback. And the problem I say to my students, when we do the training, it's a safe space. Leave here what you have to leave. Because when we go out and we become a professional coach, and you start interpreting the reality of the person, she or he thinks you are the professional, you're probably right. Even if she doesn't or he doesn't agree with that. It's a bit bizarre what she's saying that, because it's not what I feel, but she might be right because she's a professional coach. And I say to my student, be very, very aware of that. Please don't induce the reality of the person. Don't interpret the reality with the best intention. Or if you interpret, let's say I have an intuition. You tell me your story, and I have a strong intuition about it. This is there. I won't interpret. I would say, if you allow me, asking for permission, another coaching competency. If you allow me, I feel something about what you said. The coachee said, okay, go ahead, blah, 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 blah. And the coachee said, not really. Okay, I'll leave. The coachee said, wow, yeah, I couldn't pinpoint that, but yeah, that's helping. You see the eyes get brighter. There's an expression there, because the body says a lot. It's somatic. We have bodies for something. So if I say to my coach, students coach, I say, look, when you give an intuition, verify, check by the body language which is getting back to you, and don't interpret the body language by somebody saying, yeah, he doesn't dare to say no. Say, yeah, I think that's a very good idea. Might do something about it. I'm exaggerating. Don't say, I think I'm good. I think my intuition was right. So thank you for saying that. Another remark you would like to share?
Yes, I found it interesting deciding when to break the other person's statement or sentence.
Yes.
In order to keep the flow of the conversation. So when to break?
When to break?
When to break?
Good question.
When to break?
What do you think? When to break? Somebody is telling you. Actually, it was a kind of long story. I was started to be a bit concerned. Shall I be able to reformulate? When, and do you have to break? Or if you break, how do you do it? Somebody is telling you on and on and on. You say, I'm incapable of reformulating because even if you take some notes. Okay, so I would answer and say, there are two ways. Somebody is telling along, it's going on and on. The thing we always ask permission for, could have stopped Beat to say, Beat, it's very interesting what you said, but if you give me, could I ask you, is that possible if I, just to make sure that I understood what you're saying, I would like to reformulate that. So you ask for permission, and why do you do that is to make sure that you understood Beat, d'accord? So it's to the benefit of the coachee. It's not to say, that's too long, I have to break that. The other thing is that you say, you let it go, and you say, it's very, I can feel it for you, it's something which is very present or whatever it is. Could you, in few words, summarize what you said? That's another way. And then, if I understand you correctly, what you mean is, okay? Thank you. Another question, yes? It doesn't work.
Sorry. In the middle.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I find very interesting. I have a problem that I have a lot of empathy for people. So immediately I'm trying to say, I identify with challenge.
Yes.
And so the challenge for me then is to remove myself from that feeling that you can understand what the person is going through, and have them to always stop yourself and say and ask the question. So the idea of the empathy and the sharing and knowing and wanting to solve it was really there, but I had to stop myself consciously to do that.
Empathy is absolutely essential in coaching, because if you listen to somebody telling you a story which is impacting them, you say, okay, think what I will do tomorrow, as I said the other day. Empathy is, we call it connection, but I'm not taking what this person living as my stuff that I can actually somewhere take the ownership of so that I can help that person. We are not helpers. We are people who are sitting, or we say in coaching, we carry the banner of our coachee, but don't forget to give it back to your coachee. Because the empathy, I don't give it back because I can be with you and do it with things. It's great because it means that you have the sensitivity to the empathy. It's great. But if somebody comes with a very difficult problem, could be very emotional. And again, I'm exaggerating, but you start crying with your coach about his problem, you might not help him in the right way. But you are in empathy, which means, that I can connect to that. I feel this something which is, there's a pain there, and I can connect to that. But what could you do to live this thing in a lighter way in your life? It's always about finding a resource. And if you are too much in the empathy, you'll be stuck with your coachee in that place, you know? You know what I mean? Okay. So the beauty of coaching is that it's and not or. I can be in empathy and being neutral. And one of the competency in coaching is to be centered and detached. Centered and detached. And this is one of the most difficult exercises our students are going through, because or they have too much empathy and difficult. Or they have no empathy and just listen and say, okay, I don't care. But that's not coaching either. So this is the beauty. It has this complexity, and at the same time, it's very. It's about taking all the side of a human being and what they go through, and being the one which is at the exterior and can ask the right question to help that person to go ahead. Okay, if you don't mind, because the time is going on, I would like just to, or there's another question, if we call a burning question, take the time for it. Is that okay? Yes? Yes?
Could you just suggest how we could break politely someone you're discussing and something with when they're connected either to the computer or to their some handheld device?
Seems you have a precise situation.
Could you make a suggestion?
Can I just wanted to
in amongst the
reformulate.
scope of active listening.
If I understand correctly, you mean how can you coach? What you mean? Somebody was connected to a computer?
No, when we're just actively discussing, despite it might not be the best environment to discuss something, to redirect the attention of the listener to you, so that you have eye contact and not contact with their with them looking into their device.
That's interesting.
I mean, these are the challenges of the world, I think, today. Is there something that you could share with us that perhaps you've
That's a very good question.
gained?
I would relate that question to the leadership of the coach. Because we say the coach is the leader somewhere, but the coach has to have a leadership because he's in charge of the process of coaching. My job is to coach you. If you are, while I ask you a question, you are looking at your computer or something else, that doesn't work because it breaks the relationship, the connection. So what the coach has to say, or if you accompany somebody in a coaching style, is just to say at the very beginning, look, it's important for us to create that space, so please, could you put that aside for 1 hour? And then you can get it back to, that's taking your leadership. Because otherwise, we mix everything, and then you say, well, it doesn't work. But the person is not centered. And it impacts the centering of the coach. And without the centering, we can't coach. Because we're there and there, and we're everywhere. And I give you a very precise example. I coach somebody, I always coach in my own office. Because the manager, when they are in their office, there's always somebody saying, excuse me, Olivier, just 1 second, and boom, it breaks. We are in the middle of something very important. Or if I go to, coaching, as I was saying, to Beat in Bern, so I have to go to Bern, not in my office. We have a space, and I say from the very beginning of the coaching process, I just would like to give you some recommendation. It's important for you so that you benefit the maximum of that session. We have 1.5 half-hour session every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. Please cut off your Natel, no telephone, no conference, nobody. Is that okay for you? You take your leadership and you explain why. This is for your benefit. Right, for the benefit of the coach as well. If I want to be centered with you and you start to answer his Natel, no, that's not possible. They can live without it for 1.5 hours. My goodness me, otherwise there is an addiction there, right? So you just take your leadership and you explain why. So that's the way. Thank you. So I'd just like to present you some, to finish the conference. Thank you for all your questions. How does coaching impact the style of managing people? Very quickly again. It's the result of an inquiry which was done by IBM some years ago. And I found it interesting in this presentation is depending on how you orient the communication, you get different results. You orient that to the chief, which is give orders, persuade give orders, or to the operator, which is share delegate. You get two styles of management which are totally at the opposite. Again, it's a little bit caricatural, but you have on the left side, which is oriented to the chief, lead by giving orders. There are still a lot of leaders nowadays who think this is the best way. But there are a lot of people who think more and more this is not possible, it doesn't work that way. So the key over there, and I'm talking about private companies who are oriented to results oriented, they have to get profit. If you want to have nowadays people performing, you better go to the right side of this table, which is lead by persuading, sharing, delegating, training, empowering. And the results of it, just in a few words again, they speak for themselves. The information, just talking about the information, not only the results, retained after 3 weeks. If you give only verbal instructions, okay, 70% is retained after 3 months, 10%, because the person hasn't lived, hasn't trained, hasn't experienced it. The second, in the middle of the column, the table, verbal instruction and demonstration. I will give you what I mean by this demonstration. 72% after 3 weeks, after 3 months, 32%. Verbal instruction, demonstration, and trial, 85% after 3 weeks, but 65% after 3 months. So what do we mean by demonstration and trial? I'll give you a personal example. I have an assistant, office manager. We had to review the brochure about our summer university, which is in the intensive training. And I'm not saying I'm the best manager, but I will give you the example. I try to apply what I preach to other people, because otherwise, I said, okay, Viviana, as you know, we have to redo that brochure, verbal instructions. Said, so please do it according. Do you have some ideas? Yes, I have some ideas. Do it, and then we make an appointment in 2 weeks' time, and we look together how it works like. Okay, we did it. Demonstration. The demonstration, she did it. It's not only I give orders and then I get the brochure. And demonstration and trial, we looked at it. She said, look, I did 2 brochures, and I'd be interested to know which one do you prefer, this one or this one? And I would give you my appreciation then. It'd be interesting to see. She said, I'd be interested to see where we stand. So, and the trial was, she really tried, and she had the space to try. I wanted her to try because I think I have some good ideas, yes. But I'm not the only one. I have my collaborators. People have ideas sometimes I haven't got. And to get them, give them the space to offer that possibility was great. Actually, this morning I said to her, I'd be interested to know which one do you prefer, but this is the one I preferred. She said, oh, that's interesting. It was my preferred too. So we agreed on it. We wouldn't agree on it, we wouldn't have a conversation. What it is that she preferred this one, and I prefer this one, and you find a way in between. This is about, and what is retained from that is that she's building her confidence that she can be a very active collaborator. Okay, I have to see her work because I'm responsible at the end of the day of how IDC is going, but she had the space, and she had the space to try to maybe not to be wrong, but to do something I would agree with, and we would have discussed about it. This is what they mean by that. And the very end, thank you. And I hope that you learned something from that presentation. And I think we have 5 minutes for questions. So thank you very much for your attention and your participation. Now we have some time left for 5 minutes for questions. I know we ask already a lot of questions, but please, yes.
Yes, thank you. Where do you think coaching will evolve in the future?
When you ask this question, more precisely, what do you mean by that, evolve?
Will we be required to have more internal coaches, external coaches, personal coaches, coaches for each interest which we have, the changing environment that we live in.
You know, I founded IDC 18 years ago, and frankly speaking, we were the pioneer. But nowadays, it's amazing. The evolution of that profession is just amazing. I mean, in a good sense. So the evolution coaching is really expanding in all kind of services, education, health. I know coaches who are engaged in the HUG, a lot of them there. Education, health, cooperation. A lot of the main theme in cooperation is about leadership. How a leader who is quite is alone most of the time, exercising his power. How can he really can empower his people so that they can be more effective somewhere, and that he can communicate better. So it touches communication skills, leadership skills, to empower people, your team. So it's really spreading in a lot of domain. Expatriates, a lot are getting this specialty about expatriates because it's a challenge. You are in a new country, you have to follow your spouse. You had a profession and then you have to quit your profession to follow your spouse. And then there's a divorce because it doesn't fit in anymore. So a lot of coaches have been embarked there. So your question about more internal or external coaches, there are a lot of companies, to give you an example, Nestlé, they have internal coaches at a big scale, and they have external coaches. Why? For some top leaders, they prefer to have external coaches because they are more, how do you say, or they are less impacted by the situation they know, by being internal. Yes, you can try to be as neutral as possible, but you know the stories. You know the stories. And there's a time where you might be impacted in your questioning by the stories you know. So you have and, but there are a lot of companies, big corporations, who have internal coaches. And for example, in Nestlé, they do the training with us, and then they do the coaching inside the corporation. So that's a very good sign too. Thank you. Yes?
So just a question popped up when you were talking about internal coaches. So when you go to a doctor, there's the confidentiality thing, and it's quite well established. We know that anything that happens with a doctor is confidential, psychiatrist as well. So how about with coaching? Absolutely.
This is absolutely essential. And the problem, thank you to raise the subject, if you are an external coach, although you are an external coach, you coach for a corporation, okay? So we have what we call a tripartite connection, which is the HR or the N+1 of the coachee, and the coach. So we state at the beginning what are the objectives of the sessions of coaching, the process of coaching. And you have, as a coach, to insist what is happening between the coachee and the coach is absolutely confidential. And sometimes you have pressures because these people become aware of some things and they start to change their attitude. And they say, what's going on down there? Could you tell me? No, I can't tell you. It's confidential. You have to take your leadership. And this is by respect of your coachee. And what we do at the end of the session, middle of the session and end of the session, we do what we call a report of the results with the presence of the coachee, the N+1, the coachee and the coach, concerning the objective. What is there? What are the results? But how did we get there? No, not a word. And at the end of the session, with the coachee present there, what has been reached, what has been accomplished, and what is still in development. So the confidentiality is essential. This is why somewhere with the internal coach, he has to be very clear because the pressure can be bigger than an external coach. And I know some coaches who had really to fight because they say, yes, yes, we respect that, but you know, I noticed there will be a change. Could you tell me just, I respect the confidence. No, they're trying to get some information. And that can be very difficult for the coach to keep his neutrality, or he or her neutrality about that. So that's it. Yeah, exactly. So it has to be very well stated at the beginning. I myself had a problem one day with a big organization. I was not the internal coach. A big organization in Geneva, and you learn a lot when you do that. And things were, they wanted to merge two teams. And there was quite a strategy there, so I coached one team so that they could accept the other team, and things were going very well, and we signed up a contract with the top director of the organization, confidentiality and so on with it. But it saw that something was changing in the team. Yes, they were more open, were asking some picky questions because they were manipulated basically somewhere. And the director didn't like it, and he called me and said, I would like to have a conversation with you. Could you come to my office? Yeah. He came to his office, said, could you tell me what's going on down there? Because I noticed some people are becoming a little bit arrogant. I'm sorry, I can't tell you what's going on down there. That's confidentiality. Confidentiality. But it is the aim of the organization. As you know, we have this strategy. I said, yes, but this is protected by confidentiality. And I had to write a letter because there was an internal coach. He said, write a letter because they really want to manipulate these people and you, making you responsible by not giving the information. It's rare, but it happened, and I learned a lot because although we had a contract, by the way, this chap was then fired because it was going too far anyway. So somewhere that's why the internal coach has to be very clear and put the boundaries. And we state the boundaries if somebody tries to. So thank you for the question. So thank you very much again, and